Hello everyone, this is Epsilon, and this is another progress report to kind of just explain how far I've gotten. In terms of Zenva Academy, I've recently finished their Create Your First 3D Game course over here. I know it says 96% here, but really 96% is just the not watching the not finishing the final video. The conclusion to the whole thing. Yeah. So that course has taught me how to create a menu system, a UI that counts your and that counts your coins. That will be later, but that's not the important thing. So let's start with this menu screen. This shows the ability to create multiple levels in Unity. The play and quit buttons are both functional. They are both linked to a script called the menu script down here. And what that does is that it's going to call a function when the buttons are pressed. As you can see here, public void on play button, which means if you click the play button, it will take information from the scene manager and thus would load a scene. Specifically, this one is going to be scene 1, which is going to be our level 1. This level, because it's placed ahead of all the other scenes, would be regarded as scene 0. So if I were to press play, there, we are now into our game. Now, for some proper analysis into the major important components of the actual game itself, I'm going to have to go into scene level 1. Gonna have to click off the 2D into 3 and go into the 3D. Okay, so let's get started in just going through what we have here. For one, they gave me this character model, and I couldn't help but go but decide to go through it and create. Of course, they not only they give me a model, they also gave me a here it is. They gave me the mesh for the to show this is texture mesh. So you're probably wondering why they all seem open up. This is how textures work in 3D modeling. That essentially it is wrapping a 2D image over a 3D model. This is why when you see a lot of texture glitches, it looks like a character's face has been flattened. That's because a lot of those flattened parts, they are there to account for various curves on the model itself. So, with that being said, they gave me this, and whoopsie, what I did was that I accounted for where all what textures, what areas on the blocks here links up to what specific part of the body here, and decided to create my own character texture. If you don't know who this is of course my own personal character, Kimiana. Now, obviously, I didn't texture the legs because I just wanted to get along with the scripting. I just wanted to get along, and that would all be. I would regard that as all artwork. So if you want a quick aside for what Kimiana looks like, here it is. Kimiana's. Yeah, so this is Kimiana. She is a character, one of your first playable your first playable Eidolon in the 2D game that I want to one day create. So of course I wanted to make my own. She's got her little ponytail, her little bunny ears. Obviously, I wasn't able to create additions to the 3D model that they gave us, so I simply had to make do with what I had. Now, originally, you notice the back here has the tip of her ponytail that isn't visible here. That was a bit of a cock up on my end. When I did this, I for some reason decided to just get. I just decided to erase this part. I don't know why. But that's all just one minor detail. So I'm just gonna go through the basics of what I learned here. I learned the basics on how to on how to construct a player and game object. What you want to do most of the time is you want to create an empty game object first, and then put your assets inside. You want to make sure. The reason for this is so that you want to align everything along its proper X, Y, and Z positioning. You want to make sure that they're all aligned and they're all so that when you put them together, into a prefab, they don't do some weird stretching motions. I personally found myself having a lot of trouble with this later on because I forgot to do this. So certain details like this enemy is actually constructed of an empty an empty game object with a box collider. The actual cube here has no colliders. It's just a 3D mesh. But the enemy is where all the enemy empty game object, which is technically not even the cube itself. Like, I can make this cube disappear. The game object will still exist. It will just be invisible. But the box, and on top of that, an interesting thing about this thing's box collider is that if I touch this thing, it would actually go straight through me. The thing is, this is not a physics collider, but it's a trigger collider. Meaning, if I touch it, instead of running into my character's physics properties, it would instead trigger a function that would be in the script here. This enemy script is actually what gave me a lot of ideas, because a lot of things that I did is actually taken directly from this enemy script. So we will come back to that one. So what did I learn? Well, for one, I learned how to create a playable character. Every little thing here, from just the fact that the camera follows my character perfectly, is all scripting. So I'll quickly go aside, and I will click here, the camera follower. As you can see around, let's see if I can find my main camera. Oh dear. Apologies, I'm just having trouble finding this camera. Here it is. So yes, the game camera here actually has a little script locked onto it. And it also has a target, which is going to be my character. Oh dear. So quickly, I'll open up the camera script to show you what's going on behind the scenes. So what's going on is that it has a public transform target. So the idea is this transform indicator is going to change the position of the camera based upon a target. And then following up, it has a vector3 offset. So following on from that, it's going to transform.position equals target.position plus offset. So translation, it's going to transform the position the transform position of the camera is equals to the target's position plus an offset. So if the offset was 0, it would actually be directly on the target. The reason for this is that if you try to parent the player altogether, the camera would actually follow the directions of the player itself. Now, the player script is going to be a whole can of worms because it's actually accounting for so many things. So this is why when I turn, the camera does not turn to the right with me, and this is a kind of this would be a problem because the player would essentially be unplayable. You're probably thinking, oh, if the camera was in the position of the player, that would be awesome because you could have first person movement. Well, no. The problem is that the controls that we have right now are linked to essentially Unity's concept of north, east, south, and west. It's not accounting for for the directional movement from the perspective of the player, but rather perspective of the game world. Another script is the idea that when you pick up coins, it increases a score tally on the player itself. So if you look down here, you will see there's a little thing down here called score. So if you go into the player and I pick up this coin here, it's going to actually increase my score down here. This canvas up here is actually reading information from the score down here. Another thing about these enemies, they are incredibly rudimentary. I wouldn't even call them enemies per se. They are more like just obstacles. The only thing they have very rudimentary movement. They move back and forth, and reset your game when you touch them. I could probably set up a health bar system based on previous code. What I'm talking about is the last game's clicks to pop. Essentially, the idea would be to have these enemies reduce a certain essentially to give it would give your I could give the player character a number. Every time the enemy touches you, it reduces that number. When your number reaches 0, it will load a failure state or it will reset the game. That is something that could happen. Now, you're probably wondering why the floor here is yellow in this part. This is because I wanted to put more emphasis on the platforming. Also, it's also to reduce tedium. The thing is, if you fall on this floor, you'd essentially just have to go all the way back and start over. There's no real way to run back, and that would be tedious. Honestly, it would be easy. It would provide a much better challenge if it were to essentially be a game of the floor is lava. This part of the floor is lava, therefore you need to utilize some platforming skills in order to get where you want to. Now, I will admit, the coins that I put here have been poorly thought out. I'll get to these moving trucks, and yeah, they are supposed to be and I just got shot. And actually, that's actually one of my proudest achievements there. The gun that shoots you, and honestly, it's just a deconstruction, or a what would be the proper word be? Deconstruction? No, I mean I wouldn't call it a deconstruction. I'd call it what would I call it? Whatever. What I did was I essentially took the enemy's code here and kind of jury rigged it into a different system. In fact, I use a combination of codes that I learned on the Zenva course, as well as some help from, of course, the very friendly people in the Brackeys server. And I will link you to Brackeys' YouTube channel in the description, and you can just go to his YouTube channel, check out his stuff. Good stuff. and of course, there's a link to his Discord server. Very friendly people there. Had a good talk to quite a few of them, and they typically help me with my code a lot. It's always useful to have like physical people. Well, not physical, but actual people to talk to rather than just going off a course, because you might encounter problems, or you might want to go off the beaten course, or yeah, you might just encounter problems the that pretty much a prescripted video cannot help you. Now you're probably wondering what this dude over here is for. Honestly, I just wanted to get a handle on how the hell rotation worked, because you're noticing that my character is rotating as we speak. And I thought that maybe I could use this to my advantage. It was another kind of, oh, if I could deconstruct the code, I could take out the part in which I can make the character turn and make it her turn, make my character turn essentially individually or independently from her movement. And yeah, that didn't work out. Instead, I hung around the Brackeys server like a hawk as I watched them talk about their various code until I found what looked like a rotation code. So I just essentially I copy pasted sneaky me into this little dude, and I wanted to test it. So I made it so that when you press E, this character will turn to the right. Well, will turn to his left. And as you can see, success. So I now know what rotating how to rotate. I know how to rotate. Wonderful. It's just the problem is I only know how to rotate based on the world's perspective of left and right. I will show you his code later on. It's a very simple code. Where is it? I called it cube turn. All right. So the rotate script is pretty simple. This ignore the public float turn angle. I had no idea what the hell I was doing. But so essentially, transform.rotation quaternion.euler 0. Actually, no. Actually, no. Turn angle is very important. I put it onto a float. Where is it? A public float. So the idea is that, yes. So when I press E, it's going to apply 90 onto this little thing here. Turn angle. Onto turn angle. So I wonder, maybe I could... Huh. I'm going to have to revisit this code again. Let's just hope that didn't fuck anything up. Anyway, so remember when I said about rotation, about how I thought I could take something out of this the player script, and maybe create a rotation script. That is what player alt is meant to be. It was supposed to be my attempt to experiment with new functions on the player. I haven't gotten around to it because, honestly, I'm kind of bloody scared. Legitimately, I am kind of bloody scared that I do something with this player script and it just breaks my whole game. That's literally what happened to my previous attempt at the game. But anyway, let's go to player script. So this is a whole load of this is pretty much a whole load of stuff here that really needs its own explanation. So rigid body, public rigid body.rig, that's supposed to be calling the rigid body of your player, because as you can see, all the scripts are connected not to the player model itself, but actually the empty game object called player. All of this, the model, the arm, the leg, all of it, it's all just a 3D mesh. Everything is just this player object. I can turn the model off, and all the functions would still be preserved in here. Because all of it, the capsule collider, the rigid body, the player script. Everything that makes all of this, all the player works, is all in this empty, what is normally an empty game object called player. And also I tagged it as player, so that might have something to do with it. So let's get to it. We're going to start with say the rigid body and rig and velocity, and I will quickly need to, after this I will get to some criticisms I have of the script that I was given, because I do have some criticism. But so the simple idea is, you create a float x, and it's going to be an input.getAxis. GetAxis is pretty much a get direction. So the idea is that when you input a button, you, upon a certain input, if upon a certain input, you will get a direction. That direction will be coded. That direction will be horizontal, as coded in the game itself. I will quickly go to project settings, and it is here. Input manager horizontal, because horizontal actually exists as its own function. You're probably wondering why left, right. To get direction, you don't have to worry about pressing buttons, is because these have their own button inputs. The left and right, and A and D for horizontal. Vertical is coded. Vertical is up and down, and S and W. You will remember. You will notice this as the WASD, the function keys. Anyway, so you take this and then you multiply it by move speed. This is what the public float move speed is derived from. Then what you do is that you create a velocity system. Rig.velocity equals new vector 3. So essentially, this will apply velocity upon your function. This will apply velocity upon your character model, or the game object known as player. So X, we have identified X as input get axis horizontal, so X is your horizontal movement. Z is, we've already identified it as your vertical, it's your get axis. So, and we already, since X and Z are already identified as getting an axis multiplied by a move speed, so essentially you will be getting a direction multiplied by the move speed identified in the public float here. I know what I'm saying is, so let's get back to what I meant when I said rotation really didn't work out the way I wanted it to. So what you have here is vector 3 vel equals rig.velocity vel, and the way it works is that Unity will take your velocity and will apply your transform direction based on your vel. This is what transform.forward equals vel means. It will gain, because the thing is, it will take information based on the direction your character is moving. So your character is moving left or right. Hell, if I could put this character on a platform and was moving, even though if I could put this thing on a platform and it was moving a certain direction, the character would logically follow that direction rather than the direction in which I was controlling them in. In fact, yeah, this is probably another criticism. The game designer really didn't account for things like, oh, what if I wanted my game to have moving platforms? They really didn't account for that, because essentially it was a jumping platform game rather than a game of any other mechanics. I will probably have to consult more on Brackeys server to find out what the hell is going on. I'll probably need to consult more Brackeys server to kind of get a better turning script, honestly. This works, but I don't imagine it working pretty well. Now this code over here is about jumping. In fact, actually, if you look around here, rig velocity.y also has to do with jumping. If I recall, actually, there's actually a interesting thing. I needed to write this code vel.y equals 0 because the thing is, with this rig velocity, if your character was falling, they would actually the character's model would turn downward as it was falling. it would be it was bloody hilarious, but it wasn't what we wanted, which only goes to exemplify the problem that I had with the movement and turning script. But we can get onto criticisms. I honestly have a much more serious criticism of this script much later on because it actually impacts gameplay and not just, oh hey, that looks funny. Essentially, this little script here means that vel.y will always equal 0, meaning your character will never fall flat on their face whenever, like, the character's rotation will never change when you go up and down. You know, it will not tilt up when you move up, and it will not tilt down when it's falling. So next is this script. Oh yeah, this actually, yeah, this is the transform. What is this? Oh yes. Okay, so the thing about that script before was that while it turned, the character would always go back to a default. So essentially, if I move the character to the left and I stopped moving, the character would go back to facing in this direction. It would always face this direction, even if I was moving. So let's go on. Let's say I moved right here. Instead of stopping in this stance, it would actually go like this and immediately turn right. That's because this is considered the model's default as to, and it will always return to that default whenever you stop. This little script down here makes sure to prevent that. So vel.x exclamation mark equals 0. What this means is that this is if the x that we identified here are horizontal will never equal 0 in the update, in which it will always get information from, or okay. Yeah, I think the exclamation mark, I just need to quickly double check. Just need to quickly double check my work. Oh no, I don't want to. Scheduling and damn it. Coding traits. Sure. Just give me Microsoft Word. Oh wait, no, that's not it. Conditional operators. Okay, so the thing is, true if A is not equal to B. So essentially, this is to say that vel does not equal vel.x does not equal 0. Vel.z also does not equal 0. Transform dot forward equals vel. So this code means that whatever direction you were traveling before, the transform will stay in that direction. Because the way it works is that by default, the velocity will always, if vel equals 0, then it will return to this default stance. It will return to this default turn if vel equals 0. By saying vel does not equal 0, you essentially say that vel does never equal 0, which means it will always equal to whatever direction you were moving prior. That's the basic gist of it. So next we need to get into transform dot position y. Oh wait, huh? Oh no, this is a game over function. So if the transform of your character were to equals -10, it would trigger the game over function from the Unity engine.scene management. So I think I need to go to y to where is it? rig.velocity.y. That would I need to find so that is the jump function. Where is it? If input, yeah, here it is. So if input dot get key down key code equals dot space. So what this means is that if you get input of pressing the space button, then rig is going to add force vector 3 up. In other words, it's going to add upward force multiplied by the jump force float, which is a number. A float is a number. So whatever the number jump force equals, so if it was 5, 3, 1, 1, it will be multiplied by the amount of upward mobility. So the upward force multiplied by the jump force number, whatever number you plug into jump force, and then you need to input the specific force mode. The force mode is impulse. And what impulse does is that it gives you an immediate force, immediate upward mobility. This is your jump at first. Now you're probably wondering what is grounded. Well, essentially, are you familiar with Flappy Bird? You know how Flappy Bird you can always just like press a button and you will always gain upward mobility? That is pretty much Flappy Bird. Without the is grounded trait, you could essentially jump forever. Just forever. You could not stop jumping. Well, I mean, you could stop jumping, just stop pressing the spacebar, but there was literally nothing stopping you from just jumping forever. So obviously we had to create a function for that. So essentially what we needed to do is to create a boolean called isGrounded. And this is going to be my major criticism because it actually impacts the actual play function of the game. Now, I'll just quickly explain what this is. The purpose of this code is to make sure that you can only jump once. So if and by so essentially you can only jump if you press space and if your character is on the ground. Specifically, if your character is contacting the bottom of this capsule collider, this specific point, and if you don't realize what problem that represents now, I'll quickly show you. I'm just going to quickly take this, Control D, create a copy, and I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to make it like this. And I'm going to show you. In fact, not only am I going to just show you, I'm going to show you with a public bool. So this public here is to show you if you are grounded or not. Okay? If this thing is... And now let's just jump on this, and you see the problem. I can press space until the cows come home, and I can't jump. When it comes, all things considered, from the perspective of me the player, I am on the ground. There is nothing I can do to get more on the ground than to get on this table here. But the problem is that it does not account for it, and there's a reason why. It's not contacting the bottom of this collider properly. By having it on such a specific point, if I were to contact any part that isn't directly at the bottom, I can't jump. And it might even mess with my ability to jump further. If I land on a platform incorrectly, it may mess with my ability to jump. In fact, let's see if I have run into a glitch. In fact, there have been times in which I've run into a glitch where I jump and suddenly it has just shut down my ability to jump because suddenly my character is no longer read as is grounded, even if he is solid, even if she is solidly on the ground. Sorry, Kimi. Didn't mean to wrongly identify your gender. She doesn't mind. She's a good little bunny girl. I assume she's a bunny girl. um. Anyway, now obviously I'm doing a terrible job displaying this, but I assure you that I have run into that glitch a few times, and honestly, I'm not happy with that. Anyway, um, all things considered, I need to. So, what could I do to fix this kind of the jump problem that I showed earlier? So it's but already just a problem that that's just going to be a little bit of a teaser for later. Um, anyway, but the problem with that script is just the fact that I it's essentially barred me from ever having any kind of diagonal platforms because my jump I won't be no matter how I make my jump, it will simply not read as a jump. So I've thought of several ways I could kind of um resolve this issue. One issue would be to have a dedicated essentially to have a dedicated collider at the bottom right below your feet to make absolutely sure that no matter what you will always be able to jump, and to make sure that this trigger collider underneath your feet was big enough to detect even if you were on a diagonal surface. Now, I have talked to people on Brackeys server, and they've said that another way I could resolve this is raycasting. I haven't learned raycasting yet, and honestly, that will have to be something that I learn in future tutorials. That being said, I'm gonna just go through other things. So we're gonna look at this floating platform, and that will require me to look at all of these enemies or obstacles. They're not enemies. They don't really act like enemies. They just move back and forth and reset your game if you touch them. So they go by a very simple function. They have a float, they have a move direction, and move distance. And then what they have is that they have a little function to make them go back and forth. So the idea is start position is the transform position. So this identifies that start position is just the position that they spawn in as. That's void start. So if moving to start, so the idea is if moving to start, this is a boolean that goes around the moving to start. Yeah, this to trigger the moving to start boolean. So it will transform vector3 position dot move towards. Move towards just means we're going to move towards a specific location, which is transform dot position, start position, and speed multiplied by time dot delta time. Time dot delta time is simply just accounting for any kind of velocity system requires time dot delta time because velocity is movement multiplied by time. I think that's how it works, right? That's how I'm just gonna assume that's how it works and move on. If you want to correct me in the description, sure. I'm just kind of I'm not scripting any of this, so whoops, I guess. uh so okay, so the idea is if the transform position is equal to start position, moving to start equals false. So this is the idea. If moving to start so so that will run this program. That will run this program. So and move towards the transform position. That's just a low, and then start position is a private vector 3, which is the transform dot position multiplied by speed. Um, are we moving away from the target? Huh. Damn it! Am I? Crap! I might be forgetting how this this script works. Oh dear. Okay, so else. So the transform.position is vector3.move forward, transform position, start position, move direction, multiplied by move distance. So what that means is that you plug in a number into the move direction, and then you plug in a number into move distance. Move distance is going to determine how far the object moves, and in move direction obviously determines the direction. Then you do that multiplied by the speed, or with speed. No, so you multiply this by move direction by move distance, and multiply speed by time by time dot delta time, because you want to have a modifiable speed variable. So speed variable time dot delta time, which will dictate how fast, which will dictate the time it takes to move from one position to the other. So if transform position is the same as the start position plus move direction plus move distance. So this is essentially dictating your target location. So start position is so the transform position is your starting position plus the move direction multiplied by the move distance. Yeah. So that by doing that, it goes moving to start equals true, or and if moving to start equals true, okay, so this one will make moving to start equals false. Oh, okay. I think I got it. Moving to I need to make this a public. I need to make absolutely sure, because I want to see, and I hope this does not fuck up the console. But okay, moving to start. So right now, moving to start is equal to okay. So if it's in this position, moving to start will become false. Then if it's in this position, moving to start is false. So if it's in the okay, a lot of it is just questionable language being used. I'm using the same scripting language as the instructor. So I name all my things exactly based on what the instructor does, and this is a case where I think the instructor really kind of bungled up the language. So moving to start, because this is not the thing's starting position. Actually, I think I got a better one. This one. Okay, come on. Okay. Moving to start. Yes. So honestly, I would call this to moving to target location, or whatever, moving to end or something like that, because it starts here, then moving to start is off. Oh wait, no. Actually, no. Language-wise, it makes sense. So if it's on, once it reaches this location, moving to start equals on, and it will then trigger the script to move back to the beginning, back to its starting location. Okay, sorry, I guess. Oh dear, my language is off, and my scripting. Oh dear. So anyway, so this would trigger moving to start equals false because it was already in the position, so it's just moving to position. When it hits its position in here, moving to start will then equals true, in which it will now return to it will then run this script to go back. So transform position. Yes. Transform position is equal. If the transform.position equals start position, then moving to start equals false, because it's not moving to start anymore, because it's already at the start position. I'm sorry. It's just Part of it is just me trying to figure out what the hell's going on. So what I did was I took this script and I wanted to create moving platforms. Now this is a major problem. So this moving platform is simply taking the enemy's movement script, and all I did was I took out the part of the script that says kill the play that says restart the game if player touches you. So essentially what I have is this. Now you notice a major problem here. Yes, my character is essentially ignoring the concept of friction. The platform moves out from underneath my feet. Now I'm not sure how to fix this. People in the Brackeys server have said to write a script that will automatically parent the player character to the floating platform. I use the same script for the trucks that I'm moving back and forth. I'm very sorry. Anyway, going back. So you notice these cannons. These cannons are a little bit more complicated than than the enemies. So let's go take a look at them, shall we? And I keep touching the canvas. So okay. So this cannon is running off what's called the gun script, and what it does is that it has a little area here. As you can see, it's got a little box here, and this is a once again, it's a trigger collider. By creating so the cannon is once again an empty game object, but I've created a box collider that's going to rest over here. And the basic idea is that based on this script, I also yes, another thing about the enemy script. Sorry. This is called private void on trigger enter. This is a once again, this is a collider collision enter, and the idea is that if other dot compare tag player. So this means when the player contacts the trigger location, it's going to register the game over. I made a version of this script, and it's simply if dot compare tag player trigger equals true. So what I did was I created a public bool called trigger, and simply put, projectile script. That's for later. So projectile. Yes. So this thing is actually the cannon is actually made of two components: the cannon and the bullet. And the bullet is run by what's called the projectile script. And yeah, this is a major bungle I made. Once again, I put a script directly on the object itself rather than creating a separate game object. Whoops. I guess it functions, but it's not what would be best. So what I did with the projectile script is that I created a float called firing range and then load projectile speed, firing direction. This is essentially just a rewrite of the enemy script of move direction and move distance by creating a vector street that will account for the location. So simply put, open fire. This would be based on this, it would account for where the projectile was going, and this would actually be quite a major problem, because the thing is, the projectile isn't guaranteed to follow the direction of the cannon, because it is a separate object, because I took the projectile script directly from the enemy script. Is essentially saying if the player activates a certain function, the bullet will move from one position to the next position dictated by the firing direction and the firing range and the projectile speed. All of this here, it's all just recycled from the enemy script. So then it will have the same enemy like player reset script as an enemy. But what I did was I also created what's called a public bool called open fire. So if open fire transform position, so if open fire is activated, then it will load this movement script from, which is the same movement script from here. It's the exact same movement script as the enemy. If transform position equals load position, then open fire equals false. I'm not too sure what that is. Oh dear, I actually I've been working on this thing for a while now, so there's certain things I've gone lost on. But so the problem that this kind of gave me was that essentially I wanted the cannon to influence the projectile. So the idea here is that it needed to be able to load the projectile script, an object from the projectile script. This is what's called the open fire. This is called the open fire script or the trigger script. So the whole thing, the trigger boolean. So the idea is that if the trigger equals true, then it will affect the open fire. So essentially, this code right here says that the projectile script's open fire is the same as the trigger script of this thing. So if the trigger script equals true, then if the trigger boolean equals true, then the open fire bool is also equal true. And if open fire equals true, then transform position equals vector 3, run the movement script, essentially. In the end, it is a function that works, but once more, the projectile does act like an enemy. It doesn't fire in the direction of what I want it to be. But I have, once again, the good people at Brackeys, they've helped me again. They've sent me a little, they've given me a, what's it called, a tutorial to an actual gun script to how to like fire projectiles. I'm not too sure how to work it. I'm going to have to go back to it and just double check and see and try to learn it. But I'm just showing what I have so far. So as you can notice, once I entered these invisible trigger, what's it called, trigger colliders, it will active the projectile will move forward. That's basically it. Come on. Okay. The same applies here. So, yep. Once again, now the thing is, for each of these guns, I've actually had to change the value of the direction because otherwise the bullet. Okay, so I'm just going to explain quickly. These guns up here, for example, will shoot the bullet in that direction. Will shoot the bullet in that direction. This gun over here, but if I took those guns and put them here, what's going to happen is that the bullet will also travel in this direction. Will also in the direction my character. The bullet will travel in this direction because the script has told them that the bullet's movement is to go in this direction, not. So I've had to rescript. I've had to change the values of different guns to make sure that they were firing in the right direction. This is once again an example of how even if it works, it's not necessarily perfect. Now I'm going to show you what's called the shooting script, which I got from a friend, which I got from, once again, the great people at Brackeys, at the Brackeys server, which showed me a tutorial to another fella. I'm just going to quickly grab the tutorial itself, because the tutorial isn't actually from Brackeys. I just want to fully disclose to make sure that I'm not, I'm not giving false information. It is by Alex Voxel. So Alex Voxel, I will put his tutorial also in the description of the video. And yeah, on top of Brackeys YouTube channel and Alex Voxel whose shooting script, how to script a gun in what's it called? How to shoot bullets in Unity 3D tutorial in the description below. Anyway,
If you want to make a video game but don't know where to
the basic idea of this is that if you press a button, if you press keycode F, then you instantiate what's called a bullet. And the bullet is where is it? Oh dear. No, that's not the bullet. I need to find emitter. Just a moment. Enemy, directional lighting, player, platform, moving platform, advanced character, here, where's the emitter? Ah, here it is, emitter. So the thing about emitter is that it's actually calling a separate object in the prefab called bullet. And the bullet, or specifically bullet 2. So if I were to press F, it's going to shoot. Yeah, it's going to instantiate a bullet and give it a velocity. And I can just press F forever, and it'll just keep instantiating bullets. Yeah, it looks mighty silly, but it's definitely a good thing to work. So the thing is, it's just this input. Now the problem is I actually have no idea how to manipulate the direction. I'm pretty sure I could make something though. Maybe I could get a vector. Vector 3. Public vector 3 firing direction or some shit like that. But essentially, that's kind of my problem. I don't know how to change the direction of this thing. It will always shoot in what's identified as forward direction, which is this axis on the which is this direction on the z-axis, z-axis 1. I just remembered I forgot to go over the specifics of jumping. I know I talked about it a bit, but I didn't go through the code itself. So, and specifically the major problem of what identifies is grounded. So, is grounded is a, where is it? Rig velocity is grounded equals false. Rig dot add force vector. So this, the thing is and is grounded. So the idea is that it needs to account for these two things to be true before you can have this thing activate. Here it is. Private void on collision enter. Collision. If collision dot contact is 0 dot normal vector up, then is grounded equals true. You're probably wondering what this means. I'll quickly explain. So what this pretty much means is that the very bottom is that collision contacts 0. That's talking about the specific contact point of my capsule collider. So let's go back. So this is 0. This is collision.contacts 0.normal over here. So essentially, if anything is colliding that, then jump. That's basically it. Oh, and also, no, vector 3 up as well. It's accounting. If you're getting a collision from any kind of upward force, which is assuming that, if you touch the ground, that would be getting a collision from something from below, which would be up. So, yeah, that's just the basics. Now, as I said, I'll probably find a way to try fix that. But so far, according to the Zenva Academy, I've done everything right. So the next part is, I suppose, I'll go to the UI. So can't 2D. I'll just go to the canvas, and yeah, let's just talk about this. So the thing about the canvas is I actually added a button onto it called back to menu. I wanted to that was just an experiment to test, to identify what scene 0 was. So this is called score test, and I'll go back to the scripts and I'll tell you about the UI script. So the UI script uses what's called Text Mesh Pro GUI, and the idea is set score text int, which is the int score text.text score text to string. So the idea, what this does is that it transforms what's an integer, which is a numerical value, into a string, which is a written, which is writing. That's basically it. What it does is that it gets information from the score text. It's supposed to get information from the score text, and this is what a load scene 0. That's the button that I wanted to practice. So the thing is that it's actually getting information from the player script once more, and I think I just deleted. No, I didn't delete, but I closed the player script. So let me grab the player script again. All right. So the basic thing about it is score plus equals amount UI.set. Here it is. So public void add score int.amount, and essentially the idea is that you're supposed to get coin. These are little coins on the ground here. Here, these little coins on the ground. The idea is that you collect them and they give you a score amount. So they're all of these objects kind of working interlocking together to create a functioning game. So we need, of course, we need to script something like rotation, which isn't even rotation. It's just like it's just spinning. Okay, I'm sorry. Like, rotate vector 3 up, rotate speed, time dot delta time. So the idea is collide. It has a void on trigger collider other if compare player. It's the same as the enemy script. If you get the player, it will other dot get component. So it's getting a component from the player's script, which is the add score script, which is the score amount script in the player's script, which is here. Public void add score int amount score plus equals amount you. So the idea is that it's going, when you get the game, it will, when you get a coin, it will add score. It will then destroy the game but then it will also destroy the game object. This is of course similar script from my first project. So this thing will now then UI set scores text. So the idea is that this is going to be calling upon the set score text. To explain further is that my player character has a lot of things connected to her. That's just so. Or wait a moment. Is it the canvas that's connected? I think it's the canvas. I'm just gonna quickly check. Canvas. UI script. Yeah, here it is. Script score test. And I think it's supposed to be, the score test must be connected to something, right? It should be. UI script score test pro. Rigid body. Yes. So here it is. So if we go back to the player, it's actually going to have a public UI script.ui. So it essentially creates this public object that you can put things into. So what I did was I took the... Oh, okay, I see what it did. So the thing is, you can add other scripts to my player script. So I added the canvas's script. I added this canvas object, which has a UI script connected to it, onto my player script. I know. Part of it is that I sometimes don't 100% remember everything I've learned so far. I need to kind of go back and try to remember myself. I know. It's I'm still starting out. The part of the frustrating thing about like just learning a new thing is just you always feel like you're not quite there yet. Like I'm definitely not close. I'm definitely not there yet. But I am going to try find ways to get there, or get to a better place than where I am currently. That's the and that's the goal. But no, basically, going back here, it's that UI.setScoreText. It's calling upon the UI script here. So setScore, because it's using the public void that is set here, setScoreText, and it's just going to take the information from player, or at least the player is going to influence the whatever is going to the number that's going to be set here. And the coin influences. Yeah. So next, the final piece of this whole thing is the end flag, which I'll quickly show is over here, and I can't touch it because I'm accidentally touching the. So the end flag has its own box collider. And it has the same thing as the enemy. So if the compare tag player, it also has another thing on it called what's it called, last level. So if this thing is regarded as the last level, it's going to load scene 0. If this thing isn't on, so if last level is not true, then it will load the next scene, which is the next scene name, which is going to be the next level. Next scene name, which is level 2. Honestly, I haven't really made level 2. I've made a second scene, and I'll show you right here. But the thing is that it's not really anything major, or how should I say it? It's simply just a test scene for me to just fool about and get an idea as to what the hell's going on. To try to kind of have a scene where I can mess around without damaging any of the objects that I've already made for myself. For example, I have this little bullet here, and I want to experiment with different types of collectibles with this bullet. So I was hoping to kind of combine this with the emitter program, the emitter script. So the idea is that if I collect this ammo, if I collect this ammo, which will probably have a capsule collider or a cylinder collider. Where is it? Wait, does it only have capsule colliders? Oh boy. I guess I could just as easy give it a box collider. A terrain collider, a capsule collider, a box collider. I can just give it a capsule collider. Fuck it. So, let's see. Three. Actually, maybe make it a 4. Otherwise, yeah. So Wait, why the hell do all of these have capsule colliders now? That's weird. Oh wait, I think they always had capsule colliders. Oh no, okay, I see. I think they use the same collider. That's weird. Oh, I'm sorry. I went completely off track. But yeah, so the general idea was that you could, once you enter this capsule collider, will run the same script as a coin script, but instead we'll add a different quote unquote score. And the idea is that the score is going to be the amount of bullets. And I don't know, maybe I need to find a way to program in a maximum. I'm pretty sure I'll figure something out. Anyway, oh dear lord, a lot of anyways here. I'm just going to, yeah, I think I'm just gonna quickly run you through the game I've made. You know, this level took me quite a while to create, and I don't think it would be right if I didn't just run you through it very quickly. So a cute thing to talk about here is that this is actually partially inspired by my workplace. It's I'm not going to tell you what my workplace is. The coin placements have been placed in specific areas that would require you to essentially take a risk. You'd either have to be risking against enemies, or take a risk against enemies, or tricky terrain, but mostly enemies, in order to collect the coins. So, for example, these coins here are specifically in a position where you will get shot if you try to just run straight through. I actually had to make sure, essentially, I had to alter the speed of the projectiles to make sure that if all you did was hold right, you will get shot. That you will run directly into the projectile if you just did nothing but hold right and think you can just like run through. This one, there's an obvious risk of just like of falling through of misjudging your jump and having the thing move under you. On top of that, you'd have to also time it against this enemy. Don't really call it an enemy, but whatever. You'd have to time it against that enemy, because all you did was stand there waiting for the moving platform to reach you. You will eventually get tagged. Once again, that projectile, I timed it to a way that if all you did was run straight for the coin, you will get hit by the projectile. These things will require this. This was kind of just to, the coin placements here are designed specifically to get you to just explore the level a bit. The thing is, if you just wanted to shortcut all the way to the end flag, you could just go all the way down there, just go up this row of stairs, and you'll get to the flag no problem. But that's obviously not the way you want to do it. Instead, you want to go along here, and the objective is just to collect all the coins. You know, you want to have that high score. This was also another thing you had to risk not landing your jumps properly and and falling into the yellow piss floor that will kill you, because who wants to fall in piss? Yeah, these moving trucks. These moving trucks. I'm not too sure about the way I place my coin there. I think I tried getting these coins, and honestly, I think it may have been a mistake to put them there. Again, and next one is just to kind of judge the timing against this block, get the coin, and there. That's the game. The entire exercise was just because I wanted to create something explorative. There are multiple routes you could take, and it was just about finding the most efficient route to get all the coins and get to the end. Obviously, there's an easy mode. The easy mode is just run down there, run there, get the flag. But you wouldn't be getting all the coins, so shame on you. In a sense, this was fun, I guess. I mean, it was fun. It was really fun to just like run to just play with all of these assets. The major concern was just that a lot of cases I was just scared of breaking my scene. I really had bad memories of the first attempt at a game. Part of it is just due to the fact that I often do try to go off the beaten path. I try to make things and do things that the instructor didn't ask me to do. So the problem with that is that I tend to create a lot of scripting errors, and sometimes if you get too ambitious, what happens is that you create an error and you don't even know what the hell you did wrong. Regardless, yeah, that's really all I have. This has been honestly, this has been a blast, and I hope I can actually get a better handle of this engine. I want to make more games on it, and I want to make my games that I can actually call my own. But and just I honestly I hope you can join me on this journey of discovery. I suppose it was really fun to do all of this, and also frustrating. I'm not gonna lie. But yeah, thanks for watching this video, and I have no doubt that it's probably gonna be kind of long and annoying. Thanks for hanging with me. I'll see you later.